and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny, and today we are continuing our Godheads in Human Design series by talking about Kali and Mitra, who externalize the I Ching trigram of fire, which is about clarity and burning things away. So this is gonna be a fun show.
I can't wait to dig in and find out more about these two. Again, you're the pro on these Godheads, but I do enjoy reading the lines. They tell me much about it, but then there's folklore to go with it.
Yeah, it's a fun way to just tie it all together because I'd hear about the Godheads and human design, but not really know much. So I was like, all right, I'll bite. Let's explore it.
Mhm.
And then also fun is that we are actually shifting into gate 41 with the sun in like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 minutes, something like that. And so that means it's going to officially be the Human Design Energetic New Year. So yay, Happy New Year.
Wow, wow. What was the gate right before it? Was it gate
60.
60? Yeah. All right. Oh, we
Yeah.
leave limitation and go into the imagination. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's time to start your New Year's resolutions. Finally, it's go time.
Mm. 1, 2, 3, go.
If you're interested in booking a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above, or I have the link down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10%. So if you want to learn a whole lot more about yourself, you want to explore your chart or your loved ones, check it out. We'd love to read for you and hang out. And if you've been getting a lot out of our show and you want to help encourage us and support us, check out the donation link above. I also have that down in the description box below. And as always, thank you for liking and subscribing. It really helps us out. Thank you for asking questions and leaving us comments. We read all of them. We try to respond to all of them. We love having you. We love exploring this, and let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So starting off with our beautiful colored in version of the human design mandala wheel with all the godheads. I always think this is a nice image, so I like to include it. So we started it down here in civilization with Maya, and we've actually gone through most of the year already, all the way here into Kali in the red. So this is our second to last godhead episode before we complete the series. It's our penultimate episode.
Mm. Yeah, so I noticed that as his Godhead goes around the wheel, by the time I'm done or we're done reading the gates that go into the Godhead, they make it make so much more sense as to what that's all about. Must have been quite a contemplation when Ra was making these.
Yeah, that's like beyond me. The idea that Ra actually first downloaded all this information and the intensity and overwhelm of what that must have been through, and then even sorting through it. Like, I don't know how organized the voice like came to him in like little filing cabinets, but to be able to take in that huge data dump essentially and be able to sort it into and develop into the system of human design, it's really quite brilliant and speaks a lot
It's
to Ra's.
quite a thing. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and the Godheads represent 16 archetypal themes that will go around the entire mandala wheel. They're kind of like the spokespeople or the figureheads. They represent the fourth line, and the fourth line, like your friend who's a fourth line, and they're social and they're the networker and the opportunist. It's kind of like the Godheads fill that role for each of their corresponding I Ching hexagrams. So it's kind of
Yeah,
an
so
interesting.
there's four per Godhead, 4 hexagrams per Godhead.
Yeah,
And
4
they're
gates,
the
4 hexagrams per godhead.
right, and these are the externalizations of them. The gods are here to speak and find influence. It's funny because according to the fourth line, they're here to speak and find influence. It's almost as if they've got to acquire it. But then again, we just gave it to them anyway, right? That's interesting. So they don't necessarily have it to start.
That's a really deep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a thing I've never taken the angle on. So, continuing on, we did a whole big episode explaining kind of the mechanics of how the trigrams and then ultimately the hexagrams develop. So, I will link that. And so, check that out later on if you're interested in exploring, but we'll do a little brief rundown. So, I'm sure most people are familiar with the yin yang symbol. And basically, it's this balance of the masculine and the feminine. The yin is feminine, it's magnetic, it's receptive. It's represented by the dark here and the little bit of dark here. And the yang is masculine, it's energetic, and it's represented by the white. And so it's this balance of opposites that's pretty much this is the basis of all existence. And so to understand how, the mechanics of the trigrams and ultimately the hexagrams, we can start here on the yin side where we duplicate the yin on the bottom and then add another yin and a yang on top. Same thing here with the yang, we duplicate the yang on the bottom and then put another yin and a yang on top. So we go from the base pair into the 4 base pairs, or we go into the single, right? We go into the single yang, yin yang, into the 4 base pairs because we build the trigrams up from the bottom up. So continuing on here, if you duplicate the double yin, add a yin yang, duplicate the yin yang on the bottom here and add another yin yang, duplicate the yang yin on the bottom and put another yin yang on top, and then duplicate the double yang on the bottom with another yin yang on top. Basically, you just extrapolate this outward, and here's where we get our trigrams, our I Ching trigrams of earth, mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake, and heaven.
Mhm. And this gives us a lower trigram, and that becomes the names because each trigram has a name. I found that interesting.
And that they represent, and then by stacking them up, then you have the 6 lines of the hexagram. And so this shows us how you can go from the base foundation of the yin and the yang, the magnetic and the electric, the feminine and the masculine, and it extrapolates out into the 64 hexagrams, which is the expression of our totality. It's the expression of humanity's existence and our genetic code.
Mm. It's the code that I love. It gives me the mechanics. This is the name of the game. I like that these godheads all have something to say though. So let's go figure out what that is.
So here we have our hexagram mandala view of the wheel, which is really big and complicated, but it's basically the foundation of what we've been cutting up and slicing up through this Godhead series. So this is the totality of it because it looks really cool, but to make it a little less complex, we can narrow it down into our Godhead layer, which is that 4th layer out, right? The Godheads are the 4th line where we start from that yin yang into the double base pairs, into the 8 trigrams of the I Ching, and then you have the 4th layer out, which is the Godheads. They externalize the I Ching trigram that they represent.
Yes, and because there's 16 of them, 4 times 16 is 64, so each godhead gets exactly 4 gates.
Yeah, it's neat just kind of breaking down some of the mechanics because I know how easy it is to look at the human design chart, either it's the body graph or the mandala or something like this, and there's so much going on. People can kind of freeze up and kind of lock out, but it's just basic like pattern development. And once you kind of understand the sum of the parts, hopefully it's less scary and we can help you understand a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. It all makes sense to me now that I've seen the pattern development of it. But when I first saw that wheel, it was confusing to me too. It's like I'd had to take a time to stare at it before I realized, oh, all the godheads are the externalization of the 4th line. It'd be neat
Hmm.
to read the 4th lines of all these gates while we're doing this. I'm not going to do that, but I haven't thought to do that yet. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, we'll check it out maybe offline, have a little separate nerd out.
Hmm. I love it.
Oh, moving on. So this is actually going to begin the quarter of initiation. So the mandala wheel is split up into 4 quarters. So as we are now starting the quarter of initiation, it's about the initiation of the mind. It's about mental inspiration, the capacity to remember and articulate remembrance. It allows us to make enormous leaps in the mental maya, figuring out how basic things actually work. This is purpose fulfilled through mind, and the mystical theme is the witness returns.
And the witness does return
Oh.
because 13 starts that process, is the
And then
thing.
24 is the return at the end.
Yes, the
I just
witness
got that right
returns.
now.
That's just so amazing because 24 is part of the 4 ways. So every quarter has a way ending it. It's the last gate of the quarter before you get into the next one. In this case, it's 24. But 13 is still the witness. The witness isn't 1333, the channel. It's definitely not 33. That's just the expression. The actual witness is gate 13 all by itself. So It returns to tell the story, and from the fruitful story comes what mind is supposed to be getting into, rooted and anchored in our historical past. So even though there's a little bit of logic in this particular quarter, this is not a quarter about logic. It's a quarter about fire and waking up.
That's really cool to break that down. Yeah, because we're going to go through all these emotional solar plexus gates, and that is very fiery and it's very kind of it's the opposite of logical in a sense, but it's the fire of inspiration.
Indeed, it is. And it continues on in the second half of the quarter, which are the last two Godheads, but there's plenty of ego juice there and or stuff that talks to it.
And even though it's going to, right now we're going to go through fire, but next time it'll be thunder that follows it up, and that's what's going to actually begin spring.
Yep. And there's two ego gates in that quarter. There's only four ego gates total, so fire all the way through, fire and thunder over and under.
So continuing on, if I can get my cursor found, here we go. So the quarter of initiation is represented by the star of Alcyone, and that's the base pair that starts off this quarter. This is the brightest star in the Pleiades cluster, which is in the Taurus constellation. So on the right here, I have a little graphic of the Taurus constellation, and this pink star is where the Alcyone and this like Pleiades cluster is. It's the seven sisters. So if you ever can look out and you see the seven little stars in the Taurus constellation, that's the Pleiades cluster. Alcyone's influence is the idea of illumination, the cosmic light that sparks the beginning of self awareness and understanding. It represents a primal universal intelligence that humans tap into as they start their journey of mental exploration. Alcyone's importance is a symbolic role as the guiding force of this quarter. This is the archetype of awakening. In Pleiadian lore of Alcyone as a source of wisdom and higher knowledge, where humanity begins to grapple with its existential questions: who am I? What do I know? How do I share it?
Along with who are you, what's my impact, and who are they. So Alcyone, as it relates to mind, this mind, by the way, this mind business is two things. It is the fire that wakes up the mental process so we can get it all right. I mean, it's marked by the return. Clearly, it's a mental process, but it's also mind as we call our true self. Our true self mind is that personality sun earth, along with its variable arrow right or left, and all of its motivations and all of that. And so it's waking up the universal consciousness mind of which we are an aspect. It's waking up the whole thing. We got to slumber a little bit in the quarter of mutation, where everything's sort of brewing and getting ready to be born all over again.
Like a cocoon.
The cocoon, but ultimately it still had to be forced into starting up again. I don't know about you, but when I'm comfortable in a cocoon sleeping, I'd prefer to stay there. Right? It's time to wake up. Come on.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. No, it's 2 more hours. Right?
Snooze, snooze.
3 hours. Come on, come on. Hit me later. Go do some shopping first. Um, we're waking up both the minds. We need the mental mind that figures stuff out, because when this quarter's over, we're building it. The manifestor comes out, manifestation of humanity comes out, and we build it. But then there's the mind that witnesses, the passenger, the waking up of the passenger consciousness. As we go through these gates, you will see there is an emotional and an awareness link between this between this mind, the black lines in your body graph, that which you're familiar with, and a link to help bridge across into the unconscious, the red lines, the things that we don't see enough. We're always talking about let these crystals talk to each other, let the personality and the design side come to know each other deeply. You'll see how that bridges over in this quarter, and in these first two Godheads is where that bridging starts.
It's super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we got to totally get there. We got to get there. We got to know our red side. That's half of the battle here, is getting to know, oh, there's two of me. I am two, not just one. That's a weird thing. Hey, dude, you're two, not one. It's like, dude, you drink too much. You got double vision going. No, you're two, not one.
Yeah, and it's kind of that like body and spirit kind of aspect.
Totally. Mind, body, spirit is witness, and then mind and spirit, basically, and body. It's
Well, it'll be the
mm,
witness, and it would be like the design and the personality. The design, the
totally.
personality, and the witness. It's like it's neat when you kind of break it down like that. And again, you can take something that can be esoteric and kind of wooey or overwhelming or intangible, and it's like, oh, it's actually really mechanical, and you can actually break it down in that way.
It's mechanical and it lives within us. I mean, it really does. When you come to see your red side, you'll see why you're supposed to wake up. And Alcyone is the place to do it. The quarter of mind and initiation.
Perfect. So continuing on into the trigram of fire. So this is the I Ching hexagram of fire. We're continuing as we have broken down our pie chart from the base yin yang into this the base pair of Alcyone, which we just talked about, into the I Ching trigram of fire, which is then we're going to be represented on the yang with Kali and the yin with Mitra. And so it's the fourth line externalization of this fire trigram. And fire is about inner and outer light and making things visible, clearing it out, renewal.
And the clearing out of that which doesn't belong, right? It's like blowing the dust off, getting rid of the cobwebs. Like, this is a point in time where we are supposed to awaken. It's just like it said in the very beginning. When the prodigal returns and the witness is there, we begin to awaken. What's the rule of thumb? Seeing it aligns it. Well, the witness is back, and the witness is about to see. By the way, in quantum mechanics, not that anyone really knows enough about that yet, but the witness collapses everything back into form. That's how the quantum world works. You see it, and suddenly you make it take a position. This witness is doing a similar thing. As it awakens, it's saying, hey, you'll see in the gates 4 and 4 how, hey, here you are, here's your emotional body, here's the intelligence of that, here's the pressure to understand it. And then lastly, back into what it really is. And it's going to help us speak to the side that's red, especially through 55 and 37.
It's pretty interesting because we are going through so many solar plexus gates here. And so it's like
Hmm.
we start with this identity gate, which like 13 is like the keeper of the secrets, and even how quickly, gossip spreads in that fire kind of aspect. And then we go right into like 49, 30, 55, 37, like four emotional gates in a row before we get like a break with some ajna, a little bit of like logic
The
coming
head
in
center.
before the head center, thank you.
Yeah.
We go into the head center with a little bit of logic with gate 63, and then we go straight back into this emotionality of like grace and crisis. So it makes sense that it is a fiery time, and you're kind of like, what is happening? It's up, it's down, it's this, it's that. It's the fire burning through, and like the controlled burn of the forest floor to renew the life that's going to come in spring right after this.
Moni, it is no accident that as the witness appears to start the wheel around, start the wheel over again, that at that time, our newest awareness that needs to finish awakening on this plane and become known is where we start. It makes perfect sense.
Super cool. Ready to dive in?
Hmm.
So, starting off with Kali, and she is the yang externalization of the fire trigram. Kali is a Hindu goddess of destruction and transformation, symbolizing the necessary force that clears away the old and makes way for the new. Kali is often portrayed as a dark, multi armed figure standing in victory over the defeated demon, with a necklace of skulls signifying her power over death and the cyclical nature of existence. One of the most powerful and revered deities in Hinduism, often depicted as both fierce and compassionate, a raw force of transformation, revolution, and the unrelenting power of truth. Destruction as a necessary force of creation, burning away illusions, outdated structures, and falsehoods to reveal what is real and enduring. Kali calls us to embrace the chaos of transformation, to trust in the cycles of death and rebirth, and to allow the flames of truth to forge us into our most authentic and sovereign selves. And she represents gates 13, 49, 30, and 55.
Well, They said of power, or whatever, fierceness, and of compassion. I'm looking for the symbols. Normally, when that's the case, in one of those four hands would be the symbol of something compassionate, and I don't see it.
There's a bowl on the her left bottom arm. There's a little bowl. It's a little like offering maybe because everything else is quite scary and ooky
It's
spooky.
kind of weak. Okay, I'll take it. Sure.
There were different versions of Kali I could have picked for the graphics, and I had a few to pick from, and I was like, well, if you're gonna go for Kali, you might as well go for the craziest one. Is kind of my thought process.
I'm surprised I even noticed. It's just funny the things I'll notice and zero in on. Makes it look
I
like I'm
mean,
focused. I'm not.
it's an intense image to take in, but when you bring in this idea of fire, of burning away, it's just like, yeah, when you see something burning, it can be really big and scary. I live near some forests and we went in the springtime, we're like, everything is burned away and it's really scary. And you see the black and it's all charred, but actually realizing it is a compassionate act to do a controlled burn because then it gives space for the new growth to come in. And like a couple months later, it's all grown in. You wouldn't even have
You wouldn't
known.
even know. Yeah.
Yeah, so that dual aspect of it of like, yeah, it looks really scary when something burns away, and also it can be a positive, compassionate act.
Well, again, I like the image, and I can tell this force of creation the burning away of the force of creation is just a carry through from the quarter that was right before it with all that sacral and root energy. And just so you know, all the gates of the solar plex are here except one, gate six. And wouldn't you know, gate six is on the opposition's side, right?
What when you include the Mitra gates, yeah, because Mitra 36 is part of Mitra. So within this first half of the quarter of initiation and this fire trigram, it's 7 of the 8 solar plexus
Yep.
gates.
No, six of the seven.
6 of the 7, thank you. It's 6 of the 7 of the solar plexus gates, and yeah, one of them ends up being in opposition when we get to Mitra, which is pretty cool.
Yep. So as we go through these gates, are we going through these gates now, or is there another slide? I forgot.
Go through them, these 4 gates with Kali, and then we go through them separately in the second half of the show.
Copy that. So if we put 13 and 49, 30 and 55 together, and we're trying to wake up the emotional body to also to have mind that thinks and measures, we're going to need that as we get into the actual building. Mind that is my self-reflective consciousness, that mind, which is part of the universal consciousness. We all know there's a universal consciousness. It's just, proving it with science is not gotten there yet, but they're getting closer than you might think. And then there is the mind that becomes aware it is one of two inside of a life at this time. It wasn't always that way. These things are as old as the universe, these crystals of consciousness and these monopoles. It's just that at the time, they're in a life. And in that life, they're going to have to come to know their red stuff. Let's see how we bridge some of that. 13 says, I remember. I mean, the voice of 13, when it gets out to the throat, it remembers this gate of the witness, which is where all of the experiential action is brought to. Now, when I say experiential, I'm talking about the entirety, every gate of the collective abstract circuitry, what we call sensing, the sensing circuitry. Um, all 26, I believe there's 13 gates there. So a lot of them, and they all will have something to do essentially with all of this. So when we take 13 and we see that all of those gates are going to come around and finally tell the story to gate 13, the witness and the listener. I mean, it's both the witness and the listener. That's a lot. And they're going to take that experiential way out of the identity of the G center. That is our love and direction. And it's going to point a direction for us. And the more honest we are with our past, the wiser the direction is moving forward. And part of that honesty of gate 13 is honestly recognizing that there is a passenger with the passenger. There are the red lines that are separate from the personality, but they go together in the life. Gate 13 is partly telling that story because that story started partly getting told in the quarter of a mutation. Then when we get to 49, creating the principles that by which we're going to literally have, a society. This is helping to create partly an ordered framework, although I know that's Gate 7's title. It's in the title of Gate 7, an ordered framework. But regardless, this is a different type of ordered framework. Gate 49 says, I'm going to have the principles that look like a roving eye across the land to see who approaches, to see who will be allowed in and who won't, and to be sensitive to the needs of what may we need and what may be needed generally. This is also the gate that in the tribe lays its hands upon the animal before the sacrifice or the, taking for the village to eat that week or what have you. And so it's very spiritual in nature. I don't know if you've ever slaughtered an animal, whatever, you got to put your hands on it. It's a, I don't even want to say any more about it. Most people would turn their tummy, um, but they don't mind McDonald's, You got
It's
to see
different
the,
when you're the one who has to put your hands on
yeah,
it. Yeah.
you gotta see the feeling and that, and the feelings that come
Yeah.
through and the sensitivity to all that. This
The
is the
touch.
sense, the touch, you must touch it. And so you take that feeling and that sensitivity and all of that just tribal supportive definition. And of course it's there to set the principles by which the brain will operate later when it builds. And of course it's there to help liberate mind itself, the passenger, to say, hey, these principles include you. And part of the principle of all of this is get in touch with the definition that is on the design side of your body graph. It too is you. It comes out of a tunnel. Get used to it. It's the rest of you so that you can finish being whole. This runs into the channel of community, and the channel of community is taking this information and it's saying two parts trying to get together to equal a whole. Isn't that in the channel of community? Isn't a
Yeah.
design of
Part
seeking
seeking a whole.
part, seeking a whole? The principles of that are here in 49. And then when we get to 30, it's the clinging fire. I have a feeling. We're going through all of the emotional gates along the bottom of the solar plex to get this emotional mind of ours awakened. And so Kali, the Yang, the gate of fire, the goddess of destruction and transformation, it's almost as if this should have been in the court of mutation, but basically the job's being finished here. This would be that slingshot propulsion into the fire. The fires will tame. The fires will eventually go out, and that's important. They're not meant to burn forever, except those fires within us. This clinging fire teaches us we have fires in us and they're not supposed to burn forever. And because you are unaware of aspects of that, please get in touch with the red side of your body graph. This is literally a bridge over the whole thing, but it's also trying to wake up the spirited mind. It's trying to wake up the mind that's going to have all kinds of feelings about what it's going to be built. And it's going to color it with all kinds of experiences and artistry and various stuff. And we need that. And then the 30 is the cling that mind does itself. When I say mind, again, the personality, sun, earth are who we think we are. If you're truly conditioned, it's who you think you are. And as you wake up, it's just who you think you are. And when you're truly awake as yourself, you just see who you are, and it is both sides of the body graph merged into one. You are both. And this is the spirit that understands that my mind as a passenger is deeply interested in the feeling of getting to know. That's part of this clinging fire. I can't, the reason it's so afraid of the fates is because it doesn't know there's a red side working with it, giving it tons of stuff. There is a design partner that is an equal consciousness with different language that is grunts and groans and chemistries rather than words and thoughts and theses and great ideas that get out into the world real easy by comparison. This hovers outside of the real world until it can finally express the feeling. And then you get to gate 55, and gate 55 is fickle. So something about Kali is fickle. My guess is she uses her fires sparingly. It's not just spread across the plane unless the plane needs to be purged, all of it, when that happens, but it's still sparingly there. It's like across this plane, not everywhere else, and in the village and up top the mountain and over my mom and dad's house, and to get
It's
all
a
the bottle
controlled
rockets
burn.
going. Controlled burn. This is a controlled burn. This goddess, in a very yang way, that's interesting. The female yang goddess. Um, don't read too much into that, folks. brings the fire, literally, that ends up waking us up in what is 55 in this wake up period. Meaning, when Kali goes to hand this off to the next Godhead in line, she's doing so from a position of 55 and a position of, we woke up the spirit. It's sort of like, hey, bro, we woke up the spirit. I'm handing this off to you. And now you pick up from there, bring it into the family, bring the spirit into, because we go after 55. Do we not go to 37 when we get to the next part? I'm pretty sure 37's next. Yeah, 37's next. So the spirit doesn't go into a different part of this, or it doesn't, right? It doesn't go into the collective. It doesn't go to empower gate 2 or something like that, or it doesn't do any of this other stuff. It goes just straight into the family, to the emotional awareness side of the family, not the aloneness, aloof 40, gate 40 side of the family, the emotional warmth and affection. Bring the spirit into how we demonstrate support and affection and loyalty. That's incredible. That's very nine-centered, and that's very emotionally awake. So 55 awakens the spirit. Let's awaken the way. Gate 13, awaken the principles so we know what happens in this way. 49. Okay, take a break and dream a little. Gate 30. Okay, back to nuts and bolts, which are hard to quantify, but they are the spirit. I can't finish telling about the spirit until I bring it to the family. The family will demonstrate the spirit or not. So this lady is spirited, and she brings fire in the form of, in a way, correction, realignment. She brings fire in the form of realignment into our emotional selves, the emotional clarity and the emotional intelligence first, not the ego, nothing else, just this. Do you
Yeah,
got
it's
anything
neat.
to add to that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was answering your question before you asked it. Yeah, it's neat that we have just left the quarter of mutation into this quarter of initiation and this fire that's clearing everything out. And then after Mitra, after those, the next four gates, then it will be the spring equinox. And then it's the thunder trigram to spark the life back into the earth. So it's neat. The progression makes a whole lot of sense.
So the fire of 13 to 55 clears the canvas, and then everything from 25 from the spring, when the food really starts growing onto civilization, we start to fill that canvas up, is what it seems like you're saying. Yeah, I love that. So we're gonna go on to this other crazy godhead,
Yeah.
the yin dude.
Yes, the yin externalization of fire that is Mitra. Also, side note, every time you kept talking about Kali handing something off, I was looking at her skirt made of hands.
At her what hands?
Her skirt is made of hands, of limbs, of arms.
Oh,
Like
that's so gross, dude, and heads. Yeah,
every time you
whatever.
said she's handing it off, I was giggling to myself because I'm looking at these hands.
Hand it off. Here. I can see this in a comedy Monty Python skit.
Yeah, lend me your ears and
Lend me your ears. Chop, chop.
on to Mitra.
Yeah.
So the godhead of Mitra, which is the yin externalization of the fire trigram. Mitra is an Mitra in Indo-Iranian traditions, later becoming a significant figure in both Zoroastrianism and early Vedic Hinduism. Mitra is the deity of contracts and mutual obligations, ensuring the fulfillment of promises and maintaining the bonds of friendship and trust. He represents the concepts of friendship, loyalty, and divine justice, often serving as a protector of social order, moral law, and social cohesion. Mitra's relationship with the bull is deeply symbolic, representing themes of strength, fertility, and the upholding of cosmic order. Mitra embraces sacrifice, strength, and renewal. Warmth, devotion, transformative power of emotional connection, Mitra tends the sacred flame, fostering trust, harmony, and the evolution of relationships through shared experiences. The fire of Mitra is not one that consumes, but one that warms, guiding us toward deeper understanding, emotional refinement, and the strength found in unity. Mitra calls us to honor the sacred bonds between us, to trust in the wisdom that emerges from both clarity and uncertainty, and to recognize that fire, when tended with care, can illuminate the path forward for all. And Mitra represents gates 37, 63, 22, and 36.
Here we come very much into the tending warmth of the fire, as evidenced by gate 37. So we have the clearing, and then we have the building of the family hearth, to create the fire, to warm the stew and warm the home, and to dry your socks over, right? All of that happens at the fireplace. That becomes the kitchen, at least in older days. So these gates tell a completely different story, yet they're definitely emotional, but they're emotional with one difference. Before they were all four emotional, this one is separated by something logical. So this whole process is designed to infuse logic and understanding into what just happened. Because when you're clearing the forest, you might look at that as an attack, until you have something. No, 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 no. Something from the mind, its system itself. This is gate ties us into this mental mind system very deeply. It says doubt. So the very first thing that happens, you get out of 55, and as I was saying before, the spirit brings its spirit to feel abundant. That's what the spirit's looking for in 55. It's looking for its abundance. And where is its abundance? And the abundances of spirit, of love, of community, the abundance of resource, whatever that is. And the first place it goes is into the family, gate 37. And gate 37 starts with, I think, the mother and the father as a foundation, and it moves all the way up through love. And then ultimately, gates, line 6, I forget what that is. But regardless, this gate is here to create and generate the affectionate, supportive, loyal wave of that familial touch, essentially, and the showing up part. And it infuses that into the ego's work ethic. This is where a bunch of work gets done. Things actually settle out here. And the burning flames of creating the mind and the initiation of it all has happened now. That initial spark when you first start up your car and it roars before it comes back down to a slow idle, that was the roar. This is the idle, showing we're running and warming up, by the way, getting ready to move and roll. So when you get to gate 63, that's the logic of that process. I can only imagine if I could anthropomorphize gate 63, it would be looking back saying, oh, you two guys went really well together. I'm glad it was spirit before family and not the other way around. And I can help you make sense of that. We had to clear. Now we have to warm and be something substantive, speaking very closely to the core of duality, even though we're in initiation. Why? Because at this point of starting, what is in opposition to gate 37? It's
40.
840. And what is in opposition to gate 63? These all the
64.
opposition 64 and all these opposite 22 is 47. So that which makes a definition, 36 goes over to gate 6, which is the only other emotional gate. So it's basically all tied off in its oppositions by 37 going into the ego to get the work done and finishing off with 36 that goes into the emotional center to get that one last emotional gate to make the rest of the fire with the cleaning fire. And it's all picked up and sort of neatly organized here. The family, the warmth that collected the spirit, the family has its spirit. Let the spirit burn. Hey, that's logical. Let me pressure some doubt on that, because doubt creates further understanding. If your not self gets a hold of that doubt and thinks it doubts everything, it's missing the point, and it will never get to that understanding until it wakes up. 22 is the grace to basically look back and look forward and look into the now, because it's individual, and say, what am I listening to? Oh, tell me some more. Let me draw some of what you will tell me out of you. It is a big part of what is bonding. And of course, 47 is speaking to the bonding quarter and its oppositions. And 13 is the gate of the listener itself. But I like to see how it's couched in this four gates, where a subset of the listener is in gate 22, because it's the grace to basically hear what the other is saying. But that's in social situations. It's trying to be social. So the family takes into the understanding process, starting with doubt, becomes social or not, finds out what that balance is. This is where we really start to put the individual into the tribal initiation framework so that the individual can have their their way that they're supposed to be, and be allowed to be their unique self amongst the greater tribal process. Um, Notice that we had 55 in the quarter right before. I mean, in the four gates before, and 55's continuation becomes 22. So this whole thing is very neatly organized as it relates to the gates it's moving through. And then when you finally get to 36, 36 wants to tell us there is a crisis. But as it does wake up, now think about it. If there's going to be crisis, you better have a family behind you to withstand the crisis, because if you have to do it on your own, so this ends up being the perfect spot to put the crisis of inexperience. Gate 36, another emotional gate. It is an atomic bomb, technically, especially when it's connected to gate 35, because it just forces the experiential way onto the plane. We need that. Um, and it's nervous. It's nervous. It doesn't know enough. It's nervous about its inexperience. Its fear is that of inadequacy. It thinks it might be inadequate to have the experience that it's dreaming of, that the fates earlier in gate 30 said, please do. All these streams have their continuations here. It's incredible as it relates to how they're organized. Um, there was a 30 on the last set of four. Here's the 36. There was a 55. There's the 22. There was a 49. There's a 37. I'm sorry, this is all total, like, sewing up this emotional business. If you just look at it like a needle thread, up and down and up, it looks like it's sewing through the solar plex. Ignoring gate 6, you don't need that, because that actually just starts the process. So this process has
And
to
it's
be
connected in with 36 opposition.
totally, totally. And so as it sews us up, the crisis is now in the right place. Because in the end, what do we almost always find as we get to gate 35 and start to see that progress take place? What gets found over and over again? There was no crisis.
It's
Just like
just
an
what had
open,
to happen.
it's what had to happen. And even though it felt like it was just crazy making it to start, as it got going, it did not need to be. Maybe one out of 100 times, sure, or 50 or something like that, but all the rest, this kind of thing mirrors closely the open head center, thinking about too many things and thinking about things that don't matter. It's just they don't matter to you right now. And this becomes being concerning yourself about the experiences you don't have, and that they might not work, and that the clinging fire might be holding on to the thing that the fates will knock down, that I won't get to have, that I'm inadequate to have, that I'm not good enough to have. And it's settling out that business, saying, yes, you are. You'll see. Just plain, yes, you are. You'll see. And by the way, it's going to say, yes, you are. You'll see by the very next gate after 36. That's the one informing it, and informing the next 8 gates as we get to the following return ultimately. The next gate is 25. 36 couldn't have a better programming partner, as in its next gate in the wheel. That's a programming partner to each gate. Just like the oppositions, the mirrors, the polarities, get to add
It's
them all
another
in.
buddy.
It's just another buddy. And so you put this string together, and I get the family that is intelligent, that hears, and that withstands the crisis, that ultimately the family is so powerful, it will demonstrate that there really wasn't much of a crisis. There was just fear of it. The crisis almost is never actually there, but the fear of it is.
And
What do
it's
we
that,
know?
like,
Well, what do we know
I,
about fear? Fear is not supposed to control us. It's just supposed to pass through and inform us.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say with gate 36, its crisis is a difficult but not an enduring stage. It's
Mm.
just stuff happens and it's kind of crazy and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah, and the first line of it says, "Get out of Dodge, duck out,
Retreat.
retreat." Yeah, you don't have to. It's basically saying, "Don't worry, you don't have to." So, how much of a crisis is it if the very foundational instruction is, "Don't you don't have to"? You can
Would
bring
it just
that
get
in.
out of the way of the crisis because the crisis
Yeah,
just has to happen. So just if you don't need to be part of it, maybe stand a few feet back.
you're going to be part of it. Gate 36 is going to draw you in, but ultimately, you still retreat in order to let the brunt of it sort of simmer down before you
Yeah.
re-enter.
Yeah, even when something crazy happens, if there's a car accident, if there's a fire, if there's like something, even if it happens in front of you, the first thing you do is take a step back.
Yep,
Even if it's just a few steps of retreat, the first step of crisis is give it some space.
give it some space. Well, the wisdom in that is going to end up pointing out it probably didn't matter. And ultimately, the progress of Gate 36 is going to end up helping this initiation initiate us into the aspects of experiencing the design side of our body graph through our personality. I can't wait till people do that. They experience their design through their personality. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting to try to differentiate those aspects within yourself. Like that first level is first just acknowledging, like, oh, there's two parts of me. And then to actually kind of start separating, it's almost like gluey together, and you have to like separate the different bits for the one bit to see the other bit.
Separate them to see the other one, and then as soon as you've done that and you got a sense of it, forget about it. And just recognize the names and the things that they are so that each time they show up, oh, confusion for me. Unconscious
Hmm.
64. Oh, cool. I'm about to get smart. Every time I see something in my chart, I just tell myself I'm about to get smarter or something of that nature because it's
Yeah.
true. And they all will do that. And that's the thing. It's wicked important. So we'll just see it
Hmm.
and it won't matter.
Feel good about Mitra?
Hmm.
So that was that continuation of the Godhead series with Kali and Mitra externalizing the I Ching trigram of fire.
Mitra is cool. Kali is hot by comparison.
I was taking it as like he's cool and like she's sexy, and I was like, no, you just literally mean cool and hot,
No,
but
yeah,
also
yeah, 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 yeah.
literally
Sorry.
cool in time. No, 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 it was my own,
Yep.
open throat, lack of context. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, like they're both kind of fiery, but Kali is that yang, which it's like yang is the externalization, like the electric externalization, where it's pushing out the
Mm,
yang of the fire, whereas with Mitra it's that yin, so it's that magnetic receptive version of
mm.
fire.
Yeah, clearing and purifying the area in advance of the family.
Mhm, mhm,
Tear it
mhm.
all down, build a foundation. The family's coming. So I think they go together. I'm not sure what else to say about Mitra. Anything you want to add about Mitra himself? He just seems like a good steward that sometimes has to deal with some crap.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like you want your solid dudes. When stuff goes sideways and things are getting messed up and crazy, like you need your dudes. You need your
Right.
solid, strong dudes who can just pick stuff up and like, cool, we're good, we're safe, we got it. Like everyone needs their dudes. Men needs their like crew of dudes, and women we sure need our dudes who are going to take care of us and protect us. So it kind of feels like that strong, steady stabilization to begin the new, spring equinox that's going to be coming in. It's like laying down that solid.
Real solid foundation for this whole thing, for that equinox, for having moved through the new year, through all of it. So I feel pretty good about it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we are going to dive into the fire trigram gates in human design. So these are these next 8 gates that the sun is going to be going through with the trigram foundation of fire. And so you can even see that here with our changing lines. So when you hear about the I Ching and the changing lines, this is what it's talking about. So if you notice the 3 bottom lines here, they remain the same. It's yang, yin, yang. But then these top 3 lines keep shifting and changing. So right now within the calendar, we're about to go through 8 foundationally fire gates.
And I guess these fire gates are going to explain themselves through the fire that they have. So help me, Kate, stay on track with just the keynote of fire.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're interested in booking a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above, or we have the link down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10%. So check that out if you want to hang out with us, you want to understand yourself a bit better, you want to go over your chart or somebody else's. We'd love to go over that with you. If you've been getting a lot out of our episodes, you'd like to help encourage us and support us, check out the donation link above. We also have that down in the description box below. And as always, thank you for liking and subscribing. It does really help us out. We've been growing, but I still feel like we're such an itty bitty channel. So likes and subscriptions really help us out. Thank you for commenting and asking questions. We love having you, and let's get into it.
We're over 1,000 so far.
Yeah, we're like 1,170 subscribers,
Look at
somewhere
that.
around there. Yeah,
Huh?
and we're over 6,000 hours of watch hours, which I
Good
kind of care. I
Lord.
like that one more. Yeah, like the subscribers are really cool, but I like the watch hours because that's actually people who are getting into it and, hopefully learning some fun stuff.
Mm, can't wait. Let's do it.
So, fire within the I Ching is about inner and outer light. It's the inner light of consciousness at its most lucid and unclouded. And the outer light of fire is the light making things visible. It's the power to cast light, spread clarity, and the awareness of order. And within the I Ching, within these trigrams, every one of the 8 trigrams has like a position within the family. So fire is the middle daughter. And so you can tell that by looking here at the trigram. My trick basically is like you find the one outlier. So there's 2 yang with the 1 yin. So the outlier means it's going to be a daughter, it's yin, and it's the middle one. So it's the middle daughter.
Mm. Yeah, this ultimately makes sense. And when you stare around the wheel, you'll see the patterns unfold. The more patterns you see unfold as you stare around the wheel, whoever's watching this, the more you'll come to understand the movement of these hexagrams, and the more will they make sense.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing if you start pulling out the patterns. I don't know, maybe I'm just a nerd and I really do like puzzles and patterns, but this just makes me so appreciative when I look at that full mandala wheel and there's so much going on, but it's all very ordered and logical. And just again, this idea that if there's a program, that means there's a programmer. And it's so intricately designed that to me, that would indicate that whatever this programmer is cares about us enough to intricately design us. Like you don't have someone making this beautiful, intricate watch that they don't care about. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's not just this random,
That's a
intricately
good point.
detailed, beautiful, lacy, filigree kind of, artistry and craftsmanship into something you don't care about. You wouldn't bother. So to me, knowing how intricately it's all designed brings me closer to that which is bigger than us.
That thing that cannot be mass produced,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Mosey?
What was it?
So, starting off with gate 13, which is the fellowship of man and the gate of the listener. This is heaven over fire. Fire reaching up toward the night sky, joining with the stars to cast light on the many gathered clans. Have clarity of vision to see. Have clarity of vision to see the shared nature all the groups have in common. Also, what is shared only within each individual group. Harmony between people will not come about by forcibly amalgamating the clans. To disarm natural defensiveness, first recognize and respect the identities different from your own.
Where are you going to get that information except from the listener who's collected the full experience and is about to become the prodigal that shows back up and tells the whole story and tells of the experience of the past? That's where these tribes are learning to be respected. They have to be respected, each one. That information came from the past. And the thing is, it came through with the listener. And this whole quarter is filled with listener because it's also got a 22 in there. It's ready to hear and it's ready to get emotionally clear. So it's ready for the potential of all of that. So heaven over fire seems to make sense. And this clarity of vision, to see the shared nature. Um, we all do have that stuff in common. We got a lot of stuff in common. I remember when I was little, when all that tension between Russia and the United States, the Cold War was alive when I was a kid. It was a thing. I even remember getting under a desk once for a nuclear bomb drill. That goes way back.
Duck
Um,
and cover.
Duck and cover, like for no reason at all. And even then, I remember being like, "This is stupid." This
This
can't
is
stop
not gonna
love.
help if
It's
this
just
is
not
that
gonna help.
bad.
No, it's
It's
just not gonna
cute.
help.
I'm glad we're doing a thing to pretend, but
If the ceiling falls in, I suppose it'll break the fall a little bit, so I'll give it that. That was it. But this whole process here of the fellowship of man and the listener bringing it to vision and not forcibly amalgamating things, not having this way that just doesn't make sense, it's not going to work, and to recognize that respect, to see the differences that are there, allows for the fellowship to be successful. So I like this fellowship of man. Gate 13 is one of our roles. And it basically says, I will listen to the secrets, but then sooner or later I'm going to tell them all. Yep, or enough of them is the thing. It has to spill that stuff sooner or later because it's in a design to share.
mm. Yeah, and like taking in the variety of the different stories, like within our little imagery story, it's like you can't force groups to get along. You can't force people to get along. It never works. It's always awkward. It's like when a teacher tries to put, the quiet, like oddball kid into the group of the popular kids because they're trying to be helpful and like you're just making it worse by trying to force these things that don't understand each other. And so it's actually about taking in, being a listener, taking in the different stories of all the different groups, of all the different clans within our story. And so you can disarm that defensiveness because it's like, who are you? Are you going to like me? Are you not going to like me? You're going to fight me? You're going to hurt me? Right? Like that natural defensiveness. So it's like you first recognize and respect the different people and their stories, and you respect the different individuals and you respect the different tribes and what they're doing to understand them. And first by understanding them, then you can start, mixing them together to have a mutual respect.
Mm. Yep, and 13 becomes all of this. Again, it's one of these aspects that we just have to have. We have to collect the full story of everything that happened in that abstract, experiential, you know, sensing, emotional process. A lot of words. I was going to add a few more and then I stopped. I'm like, how many times can the comma separate the adjective before you get to the
Run,
noun, Dan?
run on sentence.
Yes, yes, yes. But 13's doing all. I could have added a bunch more. I mean, it really is doing all of that stuff. It is a spot in our direction of the love of humanity and moving in a direction that absolutely, absolutely wants to have it all right and then share that with the other. The direction of beauty as it relates to viewed from the past.
Perfect. Next up, we have gate 49, which is revolution and the gate of principles. And this is lake over fire. Realigning the calendar with the stars, bringing people's daily activities back into harmony with time. The light of awareness is at the center of things, clear and unambiguous as starlight. The calendar gives it expression. Inner lucidity illuminates and transforms a way of life, not bringing change for its own sake, but restoring a natural harmony.
Revolution can only be good when its highest and best purposes and aims are being achieved. So revolution is there for when the hierarchy and the structure is not fair and burdensome and capable of basically, ruining everything. These principles that end up coming through become the principles that the tribe can live with. They speak very much to Gate 50's values that the tribe must live with, but these become principles that the tribe can live with. They can actually see enough of the value in all of that. At least the potential is there. So you just see lake over fire. This is basically the depths. Lake is the depths. Fire is a cleansing agent. So the depths of moving through mostly not revolution, full on revolution, but always knowing it could be ever present. And this inner lucidity that transforms, because the calendar does give its expression and it is trying to be clear, but at the end of the day, it can't always be clear. It's an emotional gate. It's got to take time to actually reach that clarity. But in doing so, it will illuminate, transforms a way of life. And it won't bring change just for change's sake. That's 36 and 35. And even they won't do it all the time. But here, this isn't about that in any kind of way. It's about allowing in the change that, like Gate 32 duration says to do, is to keep it slightly conservative and allow it to mix in with us rather than us having to accommodate it. So, this gate of revolution would prefer to not accommodate. the other things. They prefer that the other things came in correctly in the first place and have their own stuff. That's what 49 would prefer.
Bring your own goodies. BYOB.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Also, the idea of like lake as a trigram is about abundance, and it's the foundation of fire underneath it. So it's like this foundation of fire, which is about clarity and lucidity and burning away, to then have this abundance come forward. And so, this idea of, a proper revolution, there's some crazy ones, and I don't want to, support all of them, but in the nine centered high expression of what revolution is about, it's about clearing away the detritus, clearing away that which is suffocating, that which has taken us away from our natural harmony, to burn that away so then that abundance can emerge. So that's kind of cool.
Let's end on that and move on to the next because that was said perfectly. The
Oh,
abundance must emerge.
next up, we have gate 30, which is the clinging fire and the gate of feelings. And this is fire over fire. This is double fire. Fire and light is doubled, inside and outside. Not just a flash of light that vanishes in the gloom, but continuous illumination. Inner awareness of great people shines out, spreading understanding further and further into the world. Perhaps not because of how brightly it burns, but because it is an unbroken stream of light. So I love this idea that it's the fire trigram over itself. It's double fire. It's passion. It's the clinging fire.
Dude, the clinging fires, that's such intense business. Picture white knuckle driving. Is everyone familiar with that term? Yeah, there's too much fog. The roads are slippery. You've already fishtailed several times. You can't see the lights of the guy in front of you, but you know they're there because you saw them a minute ago, type thing. White knuckle driving. The clinging fire isn't always white knuckle driving, except when it drives. Right.
Except when it does.
Except when it drives. Right. So, and it's just a pretty clear way to say that this clinging fire doesn't know what it's going to get to cling on to. It doesn't decide the feeling. It gets stung by the 41 that says, here's one for you. And I've already fantasized about it. And now you don't need to have gate 41 in your body graph to be stung by the feelings people put in you. It is the gate of feelings in the stream of feelings, which is this two channels, this stream of awareness. And fire over fire is just perfect for it. It's being doubled because this fire of feelings is being doubled. What's it want? It wants to clear out any old stuff so that all the new stuff can get going. It wants the new stuff of what it's feeling to really receive the light of day and have nothing get in its way. Talk about the need for purification, like we were saying, these first four gates. And the feeling is so deep, it needs to be shared with somebody else. Let me take you along in this experience. And that's what it ends up trying to do. So fire over fire is like a double clearing. This thing is doubly trying to get clear on, should it have the experience of these feelings? Should it dive in the rest of the way? And almost always its answer is hell yes, throw caution to the wind. I got a feeling. The Beatles wrote a song, a feeling deep inside. Oh yeah. That's the lyric. And the whole song is I got a feeling. I got a feeling I can't hide. And the song is about gate 30. If you just look up I got a feeling from the Beatles, you'll be like, oh, look at that. They're talking about gate 30. Either that or why don't we do it in the road would be one, but that's more 36. Anyway, spreading its understanding. I don't know what kind of understanding 30 has until it's really in and through this emotional experience. So that's where the understanding gets spread about the been there, done that, and sort of in it, and it now has meaning. But ultimately, that burning bright sheds a lot of light on what's worth feeling. And we needed to get there. It was part of clearing out the old so we can bring in good room and a cleansed palate and a nice clean slate for what's going to happen next. Let's get these feelings dealt with, essentially.
Super cool. You feel good about that?
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on to gate 55, which is abundance in the gate of spirit. And this is thunder over fire. Thunder and lightning come together. The storm is directly overhead. It is time for inner clarity to become action, to take the decision and accept the consequences.
So this whole taking the decision and accepting the consequences sort of meets with the thunder over fire. I mean, thunder brings the spark and fire brings the warmth and the light. And you take the spark and the light and you have the story of spirit and abundance, or not, is the thing. Because if the spark doesn't crack the fire open, or if the fire itself is too wet, doesn't burn bright and illuminate things and shed new light and bring in new spirit, by the way, the fire does more than just shed light on the thing. It's like a lighthouse so that it can be a beacon for other things as well, other things to empower or be empowered by or be, basically flirted with or teased by, shall I say. But 55's abundance and its spirit is required here because ultimately, the spirit of humanity, this is one of the master keynotes of humanity, and it guarantees, like Gate 28, its programming partner mirror on the other side says, purpose finding, meaning making, spirit being fulfilled, the spirit of feeling abundant, the spirit of being able to finally go and get rid of the sense of my cup is less than half full, the sense that everything is being depleted, and the sense that we got to get used to this fear that's in 55. It's got a fear and a melancholy and an emotional wave. It's like really double whacked here. No wonder a lot of the eating things are here in gate 55. But it brings forth this whole aspect of 55 needs to feel that it's not afraid of emptiness. It needs to have this sense of, I'm sick and tired of fearing the emptiness and the melancholy, the emptiness of spirit. Think about it, the emptiness of spirit. Your boyfriend or girlfriend just broke up with you. Your dog died. You moved away from your mom and dad, so you got no support left. You're just depleted. You got no friends. You lost your phone. Now you don't even know the numbers to call. You're just stuck. And there's a leftover pizza, half of one, and that's it. It's just empty of spirit. It's just, and notice all of these things I mentioned were various types of resources, in a sense, that themselves have to have their own spirit of resource just to be a resource for this one person we're referring to. Their spirit would go low and feel empty, you know. Empty of spirit isn't even just who am I or what's it all mean. That's probably more along the lines of the 28 stuff. This is just empty of spirit. It's hard to really put too many words on all of that. Apply the words that describe God to a T. It's going to be hard to apply all of those words. Um, and it's the same here. So humanity is running a dance. And if we're doing the purification and the clearing out right, it was very cool that we had the gates that went before it to be sort of a support network for 55's abundance. The abundance of spirit is what's required. So crank that thunder, rip, roar, light that fire, and light the way. Go ahead and be stung by gate 41. Have the feeling that then ultimately 55 says, that's spirited or not. This fulfills my spirit of feeling like I'm in the right place, like everything is going right, like the abundance is feeling full, like I want to be with you or not. I mean, the spirit of togetherness or not starts here too, as well. This is a very much fickle and wrapped up in the romance with another, the passions that can show up with another or not, and the passions that bring the fire and the flames into basically some form of partnership or not. That's part of its abundance, by the way. It's not just material, although it has that as one of its aspects, but it's abundance of spirit in love and romance and all of that as well.
Yeah, I like all the words that you're describing of like fickle and sudden and the spark because it's all very this like thunder trigram. Thunder is
Hmm.
about shock and it just kind of comes in. And even this idea of like gate 55, it's an individual circuitry gate which works in a pulse. So it's like you can feel so low and so low and so low until like shock, spark, thunder, the spirit emerges. And then you feel abundant again and you feel full. So like all of those words, the imagery, it all vibes.
Yeah, totally vibes. I feel pretty good about Gate 55.
Absolutely. Continuing on to gate 37, which is family and the gate of friendship, the trigrams are wind over fire. Strong fire in the hearth will create its own draft, light and warmth at the center of the home, translating into far reaching influence in the world. Represents a constant living awareness that pervades the structure and makes its presence felt in everything said and done. Fire needs a free flow of air to burn cleanly and steadily. Real words and consistent actions keep it alight.
Real words, consistent actions, striking up bargains, being sensitive to your traditions, all of that stuff is being spoken here. And the wind that brings great wisdom to fan the flames over here are the flames of the ovens, the stove oven inside the kitchen of the home that's going to feed the gate 40 when it gets home. That's going to feed the rest of the family and invite people in to have part of the dinner and share in that resource. The prime resource of any tribal thing, I mean, water, see, people need to have roofs over their heads, but the prime resource by which people revolt or not is food.
Yeah.
I mean, people revolt over food, period. Um, Roof over your head, you can fix that. Go figure out something. But if the food's there, the revolt is less likely. So the whole
It speaks
37
to
is
support.
totally, and it's there to tame down any need for further revolution because it's now showing the way of where the spirit goes best. The spirit goes best first into the family and the tribe and the sense of feeling empowered through support. Power through support is where ultimately gate 55 that just came before this would like to lay its head at night, just even in its emptiness, so it can know it can wake up with the chance of feeling abundant in at least love and affection that is abounding around me. One of its main things it wants to be abundant with. 37 gives us in spades, and it starts up this. We're now under Mitra, right?
Yeah, we just stepped into Mitra.
Yep, and the Mitra, and so 37 is the emotionals version of being a little bit cooler about all of this stuff rather than just burning hot like 830.
Hmm.
Fire over fire sort of says it all by itself. You can't miss it. So,
Yeah, we shifted into the yin externalization of fire.
yeah. And in that, I mean, just think of the word, the externalization of. And so this is here to externalize the warmth of
And, s-
family.
and there's like a softness. Like the wind as a trigram is about subtle yet far reaching influence. Like you don't think about it until like the wind is just kind of in the background until it like knocks you on your bottom, you know?
Yeah. Or you call someone from 22 towns over and the wind has reached them by now.
Yeah. Or even like the butterfly flapping its wings, changes something around the world. Like that idea. I feel like that's a very, this like subtle yet far reaching influence of wind as a trigram.
It's everywhere unless we're not looking. And then it's still there. So
We just didn't notice it until you really notice it.
it's you either notice or you don't. The strong fire in the hearth will create its own, yeah. Why its own
Which
drought, light, and warmth? Oh, that says
draft?
draft. Okay.
Draft. It's like the funny spelling of draft. I almost changed it to an F, but I was like, no, it looks all romantic. Um, but yeah, whoever wrote the book I pulled that from did the funny spelling.
It was weird. Drought. I'm like, drought. How does that fit? Did I miss that word before? Drought sounds awful. This isn't about drought.
No, A's and O's, they're different. Any other thoughts on gate 37 and the trigrams of wind over fire?
Nope.
Cool. Mosey, mosey. Continuing on to gate 63, which is doubt after completion. And the trigrams are water over fire. Water above fire like a pot on the boil. Productive meeting of opposites will last just as long as you pay attention to both the fire and water level. Have the presence of mind, awareness clear as a flame within the stream of emotional experience, mindful of anxieties, contemplating with an open heart, well placed to anticipate and ward off trouble.
The whole thing speaks to the logical collective understanding circuitry, looking into the future, well placed to anticipate. This is the doubt that brings and raises the questions that lead to the anticipation of what could basically get in the way. And it does need to ward off, that's its whole job, is to ward off trouble. This is the pressure to translate what will ward off trouble, essentially, as it relates to, in this case, And the water above fire does have to come to a boil, is the thing. I sort of liked how that was written. Um, just as long as you pay attention to both. This is telling you to be logical. Pay attention to both aspects, not just the water boiling, but the fire underneath it. And this having presence of a mind or awareness that becomes clear as a flame. You know, it takes a little bit for the doubt to actually get all that clear, but it's pressuring that clarity process as it relates to coming to an understanding and identifying with something. Once the collective is identified with something, lots of stuff gets done at that point. Collective only sits and stands still when it can't agree on what to identify with and get rolling. But ultimately, this gate here is here to identify that. 63's doubt is straight up logical, and it's a design of mental activity mixed with mental ease. So they get to be mentally active, and then suddenly it'll be at ease, especially if it's in an open center. And this whole stream of emotional experience will fit right into what needs to be protected. But here's the logical part that has nothing to do with the emotional part other than where it sits in the wheel. 63 clearly has plenty to do with the emotional process because of where it sits in the wheel, although it's got nothing to do with it as far as circuitry goes.
Yeah, I really love this line of have the presence of mind, awareness clear as a flame within the stream of emotional experience. Where when you're looking at the wheel, 63 is this little tiny slice of logic in the middle, surrounded by all this emotional solar plexus gates. So even the fact that it's like I pulled this from an I Ching book that I would imagine has no connection with human design and the mandala wheel or anything, but that perfectly describes its place within the wheel.
Yeah, it is actually a glorious place for it. Again, it's a cooling down spot in a way, and it's fitting that it is gate 63. Most of the other logic gates would be overwhelmed, but since 63 doesn't have to have the answers, it's only pressuring the question. In that sense, it can't quite get burned alive by the emotional process because the question's the question. It's the answer that if the emotional process doesn't like it, will, throw their fire at the other. So the perfect gate for the perfect job,
Mosey.
Mosey.
Continuing on to gate 22, which is grace and the gate of openness. The trigrams are mountain over fire. Perhaps the firelight is flickering over the rock face, creating shifting patterns of light and dark. Or perhaps the volcanic fire inside a mountain still dynamically shaping what appears so solid and established from the outside. Inner light of awareness shines through the outer form. See all the standards, all the ways the world is governed and ordered from the inside. Understand how things are defined, how standards arise, how many forms of inner essence can take, where you can possibly stand to pass judgment.
Yeah. Um, 22's judgment really is going to be, am I open socially to this other people or to the situation or not? And am I open to hearing anymore? Because again, gate 22 is the gate of the left ear, and it is there to hear or to be closed to that hearing. So when it hears what it needs to have, I don't fully understand the mountains over fire. Mountains bring what now?
Mountains is about stillness. So even as like it was so funny when you said like it's about being social or not. And like am I
Mm,
going to engage or not? And so mountain is about kind of taking a respite before transformation and taking in that stillness. So it's gate 52 is mountain over mountain to like
yeah.
super exemplify it. So it actually works kind of perfectly is just like before I act, right? That 22 is part of that emotional experience. It could act so quickly and it's like no, hang on, gate 12 is going to be like, let's temper it so it doesn't just shoot out your mouth, but to go take that respite in the mountain to then, is it the right time to be social? Is the feeling there to be social? Is it correct?
Yeah. And is it correct for them? And does it fulfill the right spirit? Because that's what came next. Again, this whole section of the wheel really has lots of tic-tac-toeing back and forth. Um, Gate 22 is the most reasonable voice for its incarnation cross, the cross of rulership. Um, and 47, of course, could have been it, but it's not where we are now. So this grace and this openness to me feels like it fits what the trigram is saying about it to me. It's demonstrating, hey, there is an openness, but it has its limits.
Even the hexagram kind of looks like that if you look at the 6 lines at the bottom here. It's like closed, open, open, closed. Like it's like I'm
Right.
open, but also maybe let me take a little bit of a back.
Yeah. I'm pretty good with 22.
Cool. So finally, we have gate 36, which is the darkening of the light and the gate of crisis. Earth over fire. Light enters the Earth's center at night. The sun will rise again in the morning. Darkness is simply part of the natural cycle. Understand and use it as such. Light balanced with darkness, insight with acceptance. No need to let the full glare of your insight shine forth all the time or force your understanding on those who might not want it.
Don't always need to share your crazy idea with me, ultimately.
Yeah, I
But
feel that one. I feel
but
called
they
out.
yeah, well, they can't help it sometimes, you know what I
I
mean? But then
know.
again, to share doesn't mean now to make the decision to act upon. It's the wisdom to know
Mhm.
when to act beyond just the sharing. Let me share this crazy idea with you. We're totally not going to do it, but it's fun to think about.
Mm.
That type of thing. And this whole darkening of the light, the crisis seems like I'm so inexperienced, it'll never happen. I don't even know what it's about. And the whole thing feels like darkness until you're in the moment. And once you're in the moment, everything else kicks in. The format energy is there to help that cycle come all the way through to maturation. You know, the sacral is there to say yes into the commitment that brings the body with it. And then, of course, we all know what the witness does. It collects that information in the form of a collective story that's going to matter sooner or later, or not. Mostly it does. So 36 darkening, and it's just simply part of a natural cycle. Well, that's the language in the book. It's not, it hits, but it's not an enduring phase. It can't be. It has to come to an end. And that's where the intelligence is through that end making process. And that's even sort of talked about here. No need to let the full glare of your insights shine forth on all the time, because real clarity will come along to tell you which insights to let shine. Ultimately,
Mm.
which ones get to get put aside.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like the trigrams also because it's like the fire trigram as that foundation that clears it away. It brings that clarity and lucidity. It's, burning off the detritus and the debris and then for the earth to be able to then offer that fertility, that receptiveness. Like you need to burn it away before the new growth. And this is going to be right before we hit the spring equinox when we hit gate 25 right after gate 36. So it's like the last of what needs to clear away before the earth can, really step into spring.
Couched and programmed and saved and cloaked in universal love of all things, the gate of innocence, gate 25. So 36, by the time it's done with its dealio in line 6 or line 1, depending on if it's nodes going through it or not, by the time that fifth and sixth line process unfolds, they get to rest in the same place that the warrior gets to leap into, the warm landing pad of basically the truth of universal love of all things, which puts us as innocent. If you have a universal love of all things, you're technically innocent. You have you have an innocence within you that shows.
Mhm.
Yep.
Good.
Hmm.
So that was our exploration of the 8 human design gates that have fire as the foundational trigram.
What to say about all this fire? It really is cleansing in nature. I mean, that's really its primary purpose, isn't it?
Mhm. And the way it like there is the shift in the quarter of transformation into initiation, but it's there's a fluidity to it. There's a fluid shift to the transformation and the cocooning of the last quarter into this initiation, and initiation first has to clear it all away before thunder is going to shock it into the new growth of spring.
Mm. And shock it does, is the thing, which is really cool about 51. But of
25
course,
and then 51
yeah,
is thunder thunder.
When that's coming up in the next, when we do the
Hmm.
next two Godheads, that's on the second quarter, the second half of the first quarter here of
Yeah.
initiation. That's a
Yeah, the
tongue
first day
twister.
of spring is, what is it going to be? Heaven over thunder. And then a few gates later, we get thunder over thunder, is that double
That's,
archetype.
yeah, that's funny. That is 51 all by itself. But all in all, I thought the Godheads were pretty good here. We learned a lot about what these two are doing. These two seem in a very practical side of the wheel. Although I don't so much love the psycho that is that lady with dead people's arms hanging around her waist like a mini skirt. That's a little Pulp Fiction-y for me, but other than that, I guess she has a job to do. That's all good. Uma Thurman, Kill Bill.
Yes, there you go. There's your version of Kali.
Yep. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah, it was a super good time. It was really fun doing this. So we'll have one last Godheads episode coming up right before the beginning of spring, where we'll go through, what is it, Janice and something else. It's, yeah, Michael and Janice. Yeah, it's Archangel Michael, and then Janice will be our final Godheads coming up in a few weeks. But next week is exciting. We're going to be going through the 6 profile lines and how they differ on the design or the personality side. So I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun to kind of, we've talked about the 6 lines very frequently and their overall archetypes and what they express, but being able to kind of further needle in and how they express with the design and the personality.
Yep, I'm totally down with that. That's going to be really good. It gets a little intricate, so if you're the type to take notes, this will be an episode to take a few notes on. If you're right-minded, just be present. Don't take notes the first time. It'll be recorded. You'll be able to go back and listen again.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to book a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above or the link down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10% off. So if you want to learn a whole bunch about yourself, you want to learn about your chart or your loved ones, check that out and book a reading. We'd love to get to know you and help you understand yourself better. And if you've been getting a whole lot out of our channel, you'd like to help encourage us and support us, check out the donation link above, or I have that down in the description box below. And as always,
Mm.
thank you for hanging out. Thank you for liking and subscribing. It really helps us out. We're still a wee bitty baby channel, so the likes and subscribes really help. Thank you for commenting and asking questions. We love having you, and we'll catch you next week for some more human design deep dives.
Yes, till the next time, everybody. Much love.